This is WNCT 9 on your side weekend edition.
Well, we've got some showers moving through the area. It's all thanks to a first alert weather day in effect. We'll go ahead and get you over and show you what's causing all this. We've got a frontal system moving through, and along with a trough that's also helping to bring a chance of some heavy rains and the possibility of a strong storm. We're not going to rule it out just yet. You can see we're under a category 1 of 5 right now across the area. Our main threats will definitely be some damaging winds if we do get some of these storms going. Right now, things have been pretty stable across the area, and we can't rule out the possibility of an isolated tornado. You can see right now across the area some light rain moving through, some more heavy rain down here in portions of Carteret County moving into the Sounds. We also have a moderate rain shower moving through Pitt County. We'll time all this out. We'll get you through the rest of the night, your Sunday, and to a much calmer pattern setting it for next week. We'll get on to your details in your first look forecast. 9 on your side weekend edition starts right now.
But as long as there's bad people on earth, they're going to get guns.
Eastern North Carolina reacts to President Obama's plans to restrict gun sales right here at Greenville's gun show. Plus, almost $1 billion in the country is crossing their fingers, hoping that Lady Luck called their numbers tonight. But money doesn't always solve all of your problems, which one mom is learning the hard way. New details on affluenza moms stay behind bars. And protests in Germany continue to grow amongst controversy surrounding the growing refugee population in the country there. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Katie Harden. Earlier this week, President Obama announced executive actions on guns. He wants to keep a closer eye on firearm sales, so the process is more difficult for those who are restricted from buying them. WNCT's Allie Weatherton spoke to locals at the gun show today in Greenville to see what they think about Obama's plan.
Initial and data to state that you did that.
For gun store owners, business is booming.
Some guns that are really popular we're completely out of. Don't know when we'll get them. Don't know how we'll get them.
Stricter gun laws means more weapons have been flying off shelves.
There's really nothing for us as a gun shop to go out and buy. I'm literally having to buy from people's private collection to be able to have enough guns to take to the gun show.
President Obama says every single year more than 30,000 Americans are killed by gun violence. His new executive actions aim to enforce more gun laws, increase background checks, and help those suffering from mental illness.
We know we can't stop every act of violence, every act of evil in the world. But maybe we could try to stop one act.
Surf City gun owner Richard Lee Royal says North Carolina already has stricter laws in place.
Our laws are pretty well set. A lot of other states follow what we've already done. We have a good concealed and carry. We have a good permit process. We always do NICS checks anyways.
Sandra Walker agrees. She says guns aren't the issue, it's the people.
The problem is evil. It's not necessarily the guns. And I do know that Obama says he's not trying to take those rights away, but I do feel like it's a start.
He's doing a good job. He's trying to keep people getting shot by guns. But as long as there's bad people on earth, they're going to get guns.
Obama says change will not happen overnight, and Royal hopes it doesn't affect his business in the long run.
If we go one step further than that, you're not leaving with the weapon that day or how long.
The president will address the nation with the State of the Union next week, likely continuing the conversation about gun control. In Greenville, Allie Weatherton, 9 on your side.
Presidential candidate Marco Rubio was in our state today. The Republican presidential hopeful held a rally at the Holzer Hauser building at the state fairgrounds. His focus, connecting with voters who will head to the polls for our state's primary on March 15th.
That's how loud you guys have to cheer if you win the Super Bowl this year. You're getting close, right? Good team.
Talking about the Carolina Panthers is certainly one way to go about connecting with North Carolinians. His support was clear in Raleigh tonight, and he hopes it spreads statewide. He addressed a variety of issues, from national security to job creation and health care. He never mentioned any of the other Republican contenders by name, but often challenged Hillary Clinton's record and also President Obama's.
I am going to repeal every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders.
He's excited about the future. He has a plan. He's an optimist.
Rubio remains on the campaign trail after leaving the Tar Heel state. He has a scheduled appearance tomorrow in Miami. New details are emerging on the arrest of the so-called Texas affluenza mom in Mexico. An arrest affidavit says Tanya Couch withdrew $30,000 from her bank account and then told her husband he wouldn't see her or their son ever again. This was before the pair fled to Mexico. Authorities accuse her of helping her son leave the country to avoid a probation hearing that may have led to jail time for him. Tanya Couch faces a charge of hindering the apprehension of a felon. She did not enter a formal plea agreement during her arraignment Friday in Fort Worth. She is now being held on a $1 million bond. A judge will reconsider reducing that bond at a hearing on Monday. A Philadelphia police officer shot multiple times as he sat in his marked car is expected to survive. Authorities say 30-year-old Edward Archer confessed to the shooting of 33-year-old officer Jesse Hartnett Thursday night. He was charged earlier today with aggravated assault of a law enforcement officer, and several firearms crimes. Archer fired a total of 13 shots at close range using a 9mm pistol stolen from an officer's home back in 2013. Archer told authorities he ambushed the officer in the name of ISIS.
Is this in fact connected to a terrorist organization?
He wouldn't say that, and we don't know it, but he certainly doesn't strike me as a guy who doesn't have a degree of intelligence about him, stopping just short of implicating himself too much, or certainly anyone else.
The FBI is now investigating 2 overseas trips that Archer made to Cairo in 2011 and Saudi Arabia in 2012. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for January 25th. He is being held without bail tonight. Tonight, Juan El Chapo Guzman is in the same Supermax prison that he escaped from just 6 months ago. Military tanks and personnel are standing guard outside. He was brought here last night after authorities paraded him in front of news cameras. Today, investigators were back at the home where El Chapo was holed up, looking for evidence that may expose others in the cartel, which is believed to be responsible for half of the illegal drugs that enter the U.S. from Mexico.
As long as he's in Mexico, Chapo Guzman can still operate at some level, and he always has the hope of escaping.
Late today, El Chapo's lawyers met with reporters outside of that prison. They say he's in a state of anxiety and the plan is to fight extradition. That means that he won't be back in the U.S. anytime soon. Well, it's no secret it's Powerball mania across most of the U.S. tonight. The jackpot has grown to a record level of nearly $1 billion before tonight's drawing. Wendy Gillette reports from New York.
Across the country, lottery machines spit out millions of tickets leading up to Saturday night's drawing, a chance at the largest jackpot in world history. Most waiting in line already know what they would do with the winnings.
Buy myself some property.
New car, new home, new environment.
The dreamers were not dissuaded by the odds. Your chance to win the Powerball jackpot that has reached $900 million is about 1 in 292 million. A University of Buffalo statistics professor says you're roughly 25 times more likely to become president of the United States than to win.
Got to take a risk. You want to win big.
As for how to pick a winning Powerball ticket, a Dallas math professor says you're probably better off letting the computer pick your numbers rather than doing it yourself, because most people have favorite numbers that they include that tend to be lower, and the game's numbered balls go up to 69. Some think they have a better chance if they enter community pools, like this one in Derry, New Hampshire, that has grown to hundreds who live in the area.
It's just exciting to be part of something where everybody wants, the same thing.
Those who live in the District of Columbia, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and 44 states can play the Powerball. Nevada residents cannot, which brought long lines to stores just over the state line in California. No one has won the Powerball jackpot since early November, which sent it soaring. Wendy Gillette for CBS News, New York.
So we won't keep you waiting any longer. If you haven't checked your Powerball ticket just yet, we have tonight's winning Powerball numbers. Those are 16, 19, 32, 34, and 57. The Powerball tonight is 13. The multiplier is 3. Again, those numbers 16, 19, 32, 34, and 57. The Powerball is 13. The multiplier is 3. The jackpot at the time of the drawing tonight around 11 o'clock was $949.8 million. Please let us know if you win. We'd love to hear from you. Now, still to come on 9 on Your Side Weekend Edition. Protesters in Germany are hoping for answers as many people claim refugees are causing serious problems for natives. We'll have details coming up.
Well, looks like Katie and I are keeping our day jobs, but that's a good thing for you. We've got some storms that are going to be tracking through your overnight hours. We'll give you the details in your first alert forecast.
Now your WNCT-9 First Alert weather.
Well, a first alert weather day continues through your overnight hours. We're seeing some moisture move through the area now, all thanks to a frontal system and a trough, and that is sparking that first alert weather day we're seeing here. And we do have the chance of seeing a few strong storms. If we do get one of those popping up in the area, well, it could have some small hail. Some gusty winds will probably be the main issue, and we definitely couldn't rule out an isolated spin up with maybe a water spout moving on shore or either a small tornado. So just be mindful. I'm going to be here through the overnight hours as well as Pierce Legion, so you've got plenty of coverage here, and you can always download that First Alert weather app. Right now across the area, inland areas, pretty quiet. We do have a little moderate rain shower moving through portions of northern Pitt County, moving into Martin County. You can see that here over towards Williamson. Overall, pretty quiet though. As we look down towards Carteret County, that's where we're seeing a little bit more action. We'll get the graphics to move on here. See temperatures are in the 50s right now, 60s along the Crystal Coast. Here's this band of moisture, some heavy rain, probably some gusty winds of this, and I know lingering offshore. It looks like there were some signs of maybe some water spout. So if you do have anybody who is boating right offshore, just go ahead and give them a call and let them know. Otherwise, things are going to be calm and quiet. So you can see we've got the trough sitting right here. Low pressure is moving through the area, giving us all this moisture. And then we've got a frontal system lingering just back off to the west. This will be moving into the area during your overnight hours, and that's going to give us a secondary wave of some showers and storms moving across the area. So as we put all this into motion, you can see this frontal system's racing across the U.S. in the 6-hour time loop. It's already made its way through Tennessee. It'll make its way in here by the time we get you into the morning hours. So that trough begins to move offshore. By the time you're waking up, there's that frontal system moving through. Now, good news is it's going to move offshore and take everything with it rather quickly. So at least we're not going to be dealing with this all day on Sunday. It'll be your morning hours that we'll see some of these showers and storms. Precision cast showing up pretty well where that pocket of rain showers are. It's moving from south to north in that general direction, and it'll start to take a west to easterly course as well. And you can see by the time we get you into the lunch hour, into the afternoon, things are calm and quiet here in eastern North Carolina, but temperatures are going to come crashing down. We're actually going to start warming things up during the overnight hours. Your high temperature is actually going to occur once we get into your morning hours, and then things will begin to drop once we get into your lunchtime. 55 is where we stand right now in Greenville. Look at this 29 in Chicago. This cold air is bottled up back towards the Dakotas. One of my friends lives in North Dakota, and she actually said it was -13, so that's not cold for you. Luckily, we're not going to get that cold of air in here, but you can see this trough is going to stay with us, and that's going to help to keep things relatively cool for us as we get you into the next coming work week. So here is your precision cast. High pressure's in place for you. You'll see clear and calm conditions for you as we get you on in through your work week. A frontal system arrives on Tuesday, and it'll bring us some partly cloudy skies, but really no rain chances to talk about on your 7-day forecast. 66 tomorrow, but like I said, that temperature will start dropping. We'll be in the 40s and 50s by the time we get you into your new work week.
So Powerball, Lady Luck wasn't necessarily lucky to us, but
hey, it looks like we picked the right weather conditions.
Mother Nature's a jackpot.
Yeah, so the forecast is looking bright and money if you've got those right numbers.
You're so crazy with that. All right, stay with us. More news, weather, and sports coming up after the break. As protests erupted in Germany Saturday over sexual assaults blamed largely on refugees, Chancellor Angela Merkel called for stricter laws regulating asylum seekers. Mary Maloney reports.
This was the scene Saturday in Cologne, Germany. Protesters filled the streets, clashing with police, furious over the New Year's Eve mob sex assaults. At one point, police in riot gear responded with tear gas and water cannons. German authorities have charged 31 suspects, including 18 asylum seekers in the sex attacks and muggings in Cologne. Many of the protesters were angry at police response to the attacks, as well as the influx of migrants into Europe. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who has received criticism for her pro-refugee policy, spoke out Saturday, condemning the New Year's Eve attacks as disgusting criminal acts deserving of a decisive response.
When offenses are committed, we'll have consequences for the asylum applications. This is in the interest of the citizens of Germany, but also in the interests of the great majority of the refugees who are here.
Cologne's police chief was fired Friday amid criticism of his department's handling of the violence. Authorities said they received nearly 400 complaints on New Year's Eve, with about 40% being investigated as sex crimes. I'm Mary Maloney reporting.
The wildfires, which have destroyed at least 131 homes in the Western Australia state, has been declared a natural disaster. The fires continued to burn on Saturday, with authorities issuing an emergency warning, saying there was a threat to lives and property there. Western Australia State Fire and Emergency Services Commissioner Wayne Gregson told reporters that the fire had been challenging for firefighters.
We've seen conditions that we've not seen before on this type of fire, particularly when it went through Yarloop.
The fire so far has burnt about 137 miles of land. According to media, roughly 200 firefighters were on duty there working to contain the flames.
And still to come in sports, college hoops, ECU at Temple, UNC at Syracuse. Plus, to the gridiron, we're going to have highlights from tonight's episode of The Real Housewives Cincinnati. The NFL playoffs. Stay with us. The dramatic finish when we come back. Good evening, everyone. East Carolina basketball is off to a slow start in 2016. The Pirates have yet to win a game in the new year, and tonight's game at Temple was a tale of two halves. And unfortunately, Pirate Nation, we start with the good. East Carolina was also looking for their first true road win of the season in the first. ECU firing from all cylinders. Prince Williams from 3 and more Pirates shooting from long range. Caleb White, he finished with 14. ECU managed just 14 first half points on Tuesday against Tulsa, so I guess improvement, but oh man, here's where everything changed. At the end of the first half, buzzer beater Devin Coleman gets it to go. Coleman not done in the second. That 3 gives Temple a 1-point lead, and the Owls never looked back. Josh Brown puts it away. ECU shot 59% from the field in the first half, just 30% in the second. The Owls fly away with this one, 78-60. And ACC Hoops, Duke hosting Virginia Tech today in Durham, and Ron Rivera, Panthers head coach, in the house. Carolina, of course, has the weekend off. Coach Rivera, he would witness an all-around complete performance by Kinston native Brandon Ingram. Ingram hits the 3 in the first. He shot 50% from beyond the arc, and more from Ingram. People have challenged his physicality, not there, drawing the charge in the first. Ingram also tallied 6 blocks today. You're seeing the length there, along with 16 points and 9 rebounds. Duke cruised by Virginia Tech, 82-58, the final from Durham. And the Tar Heels on the road visiting Syracuse. Jim Boeheim returning to the sidelines after serving a 9-game suspension. Boy, the Hornets been playing inspired in the second. Trevor Cooney the miss, but DeJuan Coleman the putback jam. Syracuse up 1, eyeing the upset, but Carolina pulls away late, under 3 minutes to play. Heels up 3. Bryce Johnson, he had 8 assists. Big one there to Isaiah Hicks. And Carolina holds off Syracuse, spoils Boeheim's return, 84-73, the final at the Carrier Dome. And to the gridiron, the NFL playoffs are underway. Boy, are they ever. You saw it right here on WNCT. Maybe too much drama. The Bengals lost their emotions. The Steelers were the benefactors. Final 2 minutes, and Cincinnati absolutely implodes. After scoring 16 unanswered points and snagging what looked like to be a game-clinching interception, the Bengals, particularly Jeremy Hill, coughs up the ball. With a minute and a half to play, the Steelers recover. Pittsburgh has new life, and Big Ben, who earlier left the game with a shoulder injury, struts back onto the field, making a heroic return, a comeback imminent, but no one could predict this ending under 30 seconds to play. Personal foul. Oh, against Antonio Brown, he's down, and then to add insult to injury, Adam Jones. The foul, 15 yards, another 15, and it would be a chip shot for Chris Boswell, the 35-yarder. Pittsburgh wins it. The Steelers, they got to rush off the field to avoid any more controversy. The Steelers advance to play Denver next weekend. And earlier today, Kansas City on the road at Houston. And what a start to these playoffs we saw earlier on the opening kickoff. Niles Davis, 106 yards, finds a seam, and then he's got no ones around. It's the second longest return touchdown in NFL playoffs history. And the Chiefs, for the first time in 22 years, win a playoff game in a deciding way, 30-0. So AFC wildcard round today, a lot of drama. We can only hope that tomorrow's NFC wildcard round is just as entertaining, and that's where it'll affect the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers next weekend will play the lowest seed, advancing from tomorrow's games.
All right, keep a close eye on that. Thanks so much, Patrick. Stay with us. One last look at your forecast is up next.
Taking a last look at your radar, you can see some heavy showers, probably some gusty winds moving across the Outer Banks into the Sound right now. Luckily, this will start to clear out once we get you into your morning, and we'll see some cooler temperatures on the way by tomorrow afternoon.
And you're on standby until Pierce gets in the morning.
Gets here in the morning.
All right. Thank you, Candace, and thank you for staying with us tonight. We hope to see you back here tomorrow.